You know, there are two types of blacks for Trump people that we're going to talk about today. The first one being
this president deserves the support of the black community because he's earned it.
There is a silent majority of us that see you, see what you're doing, see what you did for HBCU schools. That was actually the deal for us.
I wager to say that there is no American president since Lincoln that has had the impact for black America that President Trump has had.
Joe Biden supported the crime bill in '94.
He has imprisoned black America, basically.
Trump supported the NAACP and black youth like myself in '87.
He's a businessman. He's bringing businesses back into America.
Bringing jobs back to America.
Bringing the truth back, and he's stopping needless wars.
My day is going to be amazing. I'm never going to forget this day. This day is historic.
In 2016, I made you a solemn pledge. I would be your greatest champion. In the first 3 years, we achieved the lowest black unemployment rate in history. We achieved the largest job gains for African Americans on record. The poverty rate for African Americans reached the lowest level ever recorded. I did more for the black community in 47 months than Joe Biden did in 47 years.
We cannot.
There's them. The ones who have no clue are absorbed into this fever pitch of culture tornado that is Trump. The grifters, those garbage people, and people who genuinely think they hear their family, like they genuinely believe that Trump has helped black people. The next kind of blacks for Trump I want to talk about are these Negroes.
Have a sense of why you decided to be here today and what this proceedings or arraignment that is going to happen in a few hours mean to you as a black for Trump.
Well, what it means to me is give me liberty or give them death. It means I'm demanding freedom. I demand equity. This whole thing is unfair because everything that Jack Smith is charging Trump with, Biden is guilty of 300 times worse. Going into the Capitol and all of that's fake. That's fake, people's house. We're supposed to be able to go in there anyway. That's the first problem. And then for them to say that Trump said something out of his mouth when they know the Presidential Act says even a congressman, a senator like Adam Schiff lied. All these lies. He got the evidence. He got this. Bush lied.
When I talked to you about the indictment and referred to, you said that, the storming of the Capitol was fake. Are you saying that the images that was broadcast on that particular day on television didn't exist? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is they staged that whole thing. You can go on my website.
Who staged what?
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Let him finish.
I was here on January the 6th. I was at that building right there called the Russell Building. I made a speech there. After the speech, I walked to the White House, which is a 45-minute walk from here. I had these brothers with me, most of them anyway. And as we walked down, we heard combustion bombs already going off. Trump wasn't even on stage yet. They was already attacking the Capitol. So this is how you know it's all fake, stupid, stinking lies. Can I finish?
Go ahead.
And then when we got...
Can he finish? Okay, first of all, let me start. I was watching it in real time. It wasn't fake. It wasn't like they were breaking glass. They were rushing, fighting the police. And a lot of these politicians, Michael Falcone had an interview on David Packerman's show not too long ago. The brother made it very clear that anytime he comes across anybody that's mentioned that says that they believe in that the Capitol riots was fake, they never bring it up. Nobody's ever said it. I mean, the entirety, it's been like 2-3 years and nobody has ever said anything to him, to his face. So people know that this actually happened. It's not fake. This is talking points. Republican talking points for idiots.
Got down there, Trump was just getting on stage. Rudy Giuliani had just gotten off after we already heard all the attacks. We made a left and went to Constitution. And then we stood there and took...
Okay, so that's enough of that. So it's my dear brothers and sisters who genuinely have your 9-to-5ers, your nurses, doctors, teachers, just regular everyday people who think that Trump did a good job for one reason or another. Then you have these grifting, crazy, nut job black dudes who, by the way, let's just remind you, he said it's on his website. This is just a look at what his website looks like. Blacks for Trump is not for DeSantis to be president. If DeSantis was to run, that means he's trying to deprive Trump of his 2020 win because the FBI and Durham report shows that they did treason against Trump by stealing the election, which is treason. And if he runs against Trump to try to cause him to lose by moving too far to the right while Tim Scott goes too far to the left to make Trump lose the election just because DeSantis I'm not even gonna lie to you, because there's no commas and periods. I really don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be reading. What is he talking about? I mean, the website clearly reads like he speaks, so it's definitely his website. Bro, what the fuck? Oh my gosh, bro, I can't even. The Democrats are doing such a bad job at appealing to their core voter base. We don't even need you to pretend like you care or throw a stupid red meat like Trump. Like, cut it out with these soul food restaurants and these black church visits. Like, send somebody to the community or come to the community yourself and pump life into these communities. Economically, with policy. Like, come do something. I mean, you went down to go hold hands and sing Kumbaya with the rail workers. We know that those working class votes matter and that those are a huge, significant part of the Democratic Party, but so is the black vote. And we don't see anything but lip service and symbolism. They are trying to pass a Jay-Z day in New York. I don't hear Biden talking about HR 40 ever. What? Like, we should be doing all of these things to protect the black community from the Republican Party, which does not have their best interests in heart, and Trump, he's the epitome of paying lip service and talking about things that he's done for the black community when he's literally, there's nothing substantive. There's no flavor. It's as bad as the Democrats. It's nothing substantive in his position to help black people. Wanna bet?
Going to hell, and it's going to hell very fast. It's a very unsafe place. We need the largest increase in the hiring of police officers in American history, and that's what this will be. And we'll get that done. I have no doubt, Kevin, we'll get that done. Steve, we'll get that done. We're a war zone. To lead this effort, a joint violent crime task force composed of the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security should be tasked with destroying these organizations, and the penalties should be very, very severe. If you look at countries throughout the world, the ones that don't have a drug problem are those that institute a very quick trial death penalty sentence for drug dealers. It sounds horrible, doesn't it? But you know what? That's the ones that don't have any problem.
That's because it is horrible. It is horrible. Here's Trump saying it literally again. It's literally like he can't stop saying it.
Criminals. Much of the crime wave is caused by drug dealers who, during the course of their lives, will kill an average of 500 American citizens. So you have a drug dealer.
He just making shit up now.
Over the course of their life, they'll kill 500 people with drugs. And I'm calling for the death penalty for drug dealers and human traffickers. upon its passage, reduce drug distribution and crime the first day by 75%. Crime will go down because so much of our crime is caused by these people. You go to places like China and many, I don't want to get into it because we don't want to be too controversial, but you go to China, you go to Singapore, you go to many countries where they have the death penalty, they have no drug problem whatsoever. The drug dealer says, no, let's go to the United States, a much nicer way to live. No, we have to do it. Not that we want to do it. Nobody wants to talk about that. But if we're going to have a country, we're going to have to do it. We have no choice. With the Republican...
Yeah, so he just wants to kill people for just having fucked up lives and being poor and attempting to put food on the table for their family the only way that they literally know how, because they come from a poor economic background. And when you come from a poor economic background, drugs and prostitution and crime and like these things are just a part of how you have to figure out how to get through life. And no, it is not okay for people to be murdered over drugs or for people to be killed at mass because they have drug overdoses. But we can do things like not murder them and give them another opportunity to exist in the world and contribute to society. We could try to keep recidivism down. You want to do the First Step Back? Okay, what's your plan for recidivism? He doesn't have one. For those who don't know what recidivism is, it's a tendency of a convicted criminal to reoffend. All right, so you have these people who are going to be freed from the First Step Back, which is a good thing, but there's no plan to keep them from going back into prison. What is the point of this First Step Back if you're not going to have a comprehensive plan to help people? You don't believe in any social programs. You don't believe in housing for criminals. You don't want them to vote so they can become functioning members of society again and contribute in a proper way. You just want them to just not be bad no more and go work at McDonald's or something. Like, I genuinely don't understand what the appeal is that you Negroes love so much about him. It is truly confusing. I'm just as confused about black people who have this loyalty to Biden as black people who have this loyalty to Trump. Like, you talk about and flaunt. I mean, First Step Back is something that they flaunt religiously. But NPR article, Flaws Plague a Tool Meant to Help Low-Risk Federal Prisoners Win Early Release. Wonder what that could be about. Thousands of people are leaving federal prison this month thanks to a law called the First Step Back, which allowed them to win early release by participating in programs aimed at easing their return to society. But thousands of others may still remain behind bars because of the fundamental flaws in the Justice Department's methods for deciding who can take the early release track. The biggest flaw: persistent racial disparities that put black and brown people at a disadvantage. What a surprise. In a report issued days before Christmas in 2021, the department said its algorithmic tool for assessing the risk that a person in prison will return to crime produced uneven results. The algorithm. Trump made the First Step Back and put an algorithm in charge, known as Pattern, overpredicted the risk that many black, Hispanic, and Asian people would commit new crimes or violate rules after leaving prison. At the same time, it also underpredicted the risk of some inmates of color when it came to the possible return of violence. Somehow, this new law that they put in place is going to disproportionately affect black people because this country has a history of just doing this crap, of making these half-ass rules and saying, oh, well, we didn't expect it to be that way. We didn't really know it was going to turn out that way when you built it that way. It's systemic racism within this country. It's systemic racism within the criminal justice system. So it is not a shock to me to see that when you put it out. I mean, this makes sense. Trump put an algorithm in charge. Of course, naturally, he's not going to put anybody in charge that can actually do this job because he doesn't really think about that kind of stuff. He hires people based on what they can do for him and loyalty, and then when they piss him off, he fires them. That being said, move on to the rest of the article. Lawmakers like Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island and John Cornyn of Texas took inspiration from similar criminal justice reform states, which said they led to drops in both prison populations and crime. The senators pointed out that some 9 in 10 people in prison eventually return home, and they contend that preparing them for release made good sense for formerly incarcerated people for public safety. Only inmates who pose a low and minimal risk of returning to crime can qualify for the programs, with that risk level determined using the pattern algorithm. The significance of this risk assessment tool is that it divides all federal prisoners essentially into two groups: people who can get credit for doing this programming and get out early, and people who cannot, said John Feldman, an attorney for Tampa Bay, Florida, who has been following the First Step Act for years. So it's not doing what Trump wants it to do. What a surprise. He half-assed everything. And he doesn't really give a damn about the black community, something I'm desperately trying to get you people to understand with this video. So it makes perfect sense that he gave all that money to HBCUs, but then took money from the Pell Grants. Explain to me how that was supposed to help black people. I mean, people who literally get to go to college, specifically black people, because I think only like 36% of us go. You're talking about grants that we depend on to go to college, including these grants and this money that's supposed to be going to HBCUs to make them better and to help students go. Which brings me to my absolute last point. A report I saw which kind of lays bare what we're talking about and the lack of support that the First Step Act gives people who actually need it. Golly, it's just so frustrating.
Here's the thing. Some politicians actually have come to understand that these policies are problematic. And recently they decided to change the law that put Perry behind bars for life. Problem is, Perry isn't getting out anytime soon. And I couldn't quite wrap my head around why. And what should happen to people incarcerated under laws that no longer apply?
This is such an incredible moment.
Let's rewind to last year when Congress passed a criminal justice reform bill called the First Step Act. President Trump signed it into law and touted it as a monumental move. And it did make important changes.
We are a nation that believes in redemption.
It reformed some of the harsh sentencing policies stemming from the war on drugs and the 1994 Clinton crime bill, namely the 3 strikes law.
What that is saying is we're going to punish repeat drug offenders. Your 3rd drug felony is a mandatory life without parole sentence.
That's Brittany Barnett. She's a lawyer who fights on behalf of those sentenced to life without parole for drug offenses. Her website is full of people serving out this sentence. Here's Perry. Here's Farrell Scott, who's in on marijuana charges. John Knock, also marijuana, a legal substance now in many states and a multi-billion-dollar industry. A lot of politicians, including Clinton himself, have since lamented the effects of this law.
I signed a bill that made the problem worse.
The First Step Act tried to fix that by changing the sentencing policy going forward. But it stopped short right there. For a lot...
Yeah, because he only wanted to do it so that he could get rid of a Bill Clinton policy. Because Trump's petty.
Of your clients, it doesn't necessarily have an impact. Why is that?
Major sections of the First Step Act, as it relates to sentencing reform, were not made retroactive. We roughly estimate 40% of the life without parole populations for drugs are 3 strikes.
That are currently
set to die in federal prison under laws that are no longer in place.
Did you get calls from your clients after the First Step?
So essentially what she's saying is that the laws that were put in place to stop this crime, people who are selling just weed, are no longer in place. People are on their 3rd strike and sentenced to death row for it. And the bill that Trump likes to take credit for to shove in front of black people's faces all the time isn't even going to help 40% of the people who are affected by this. most of them being non-violent drug offenders. So I say again, Black for Trump supporters, who the hell do you think you're actually voting for? If he really cared about black people and he really cared about the issue, he would have actually looked through the problem and pulled it out from its root and potentially helped a lot of those people, uncles, cousins, brothers, probably mothers and aunts and what have you, who are on death row for non-violent drug offenses, probably like selling weed. And they're going to die now in prison and be away from their families. There's nothing that they can do about it. There's going to be nothing that they can do about it. Who is this First Step Act helping? Who? Guys, like, comment, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. I really appreciate it. This video is getting a little long. I had another video show, but maybe I'll just go over that in depth another time. I am so happy to be back. We've gained close to 80 subscribers. You guys have not unsubscribed. You stayed loyal. I appreciate you. I love you. I thank you. I'm gonna. Oh, that was Jackson's picture that fell. Man, hold on. Okay, I hope it doesn't fall in. Ultimately, what am I trying to say here? I'm not confused about how I feel about the Democratic Party. I'm not confused about how I feel about the Republican Party. I am not interested in the lesser of two evils argument. I'm not interested in doing nothing. This is a very hard election for a lot of us. We're as adults to figure out and make a decision on so that we can do what's best for our families. I just say, please, God, please, guys, use your mind. My plan is to vote for the person who's going to take the best care of this Israel and Palestine issue, the abortion issue, and the community of black folks at large, particularly leading with that last one. I would like us to lead with that last one. And I know for a fact I'm not getting that with Trump or Nikki Haley. This heifer running for 2028, dog. Either way, we appreciate y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Much love to you. Thanks for coming back to the show. Yeah. It's a Center Podcast.